Years ago, we had a problem with herds of hogs coming through and wrecking up people's pastures and gardens. You know, they get in amongst your cattle, they can hurt your cows, horses, etc. And of course, people would do what they could to break the herds up. And that usually meant killing the shit out of them. And there's no running out of those things. Thanks, Spain and inattentive colonists. Good job. At any rate, this happened one night. A lot of gunfire across the way there behind the house. And the next day, this portly, he was about the same weight as me, and I'm not going to get into what that might be. A little heavier. But he was very friendly. Now, an animal that size and you got small kids running around, you want to be double sure that it's not a problem. And to that end, we contacted the neighbor up the way. I miss that old man. In fact, his home was or still is, a heritage site because it's the oldest freestanding cabin still in the state of South Carolina. It's a cool place, actually. It's weird up there. But I wouldn't go up there without knowing somebody if I were you. Just if you're a sightseer. This ain't some place to go. This ain't urban, and I wouldn't explore it. Suffice it to say that he came over, and along with my in-laws, we're looking over the pig. He's a friendly pig. He just wanted a little scritching. Just a little scritching. And then a little food. Hell, the old man, he hand-fed the thing looking it over. It was definitely domesticated. It wasn't, you could tell looking at it, it wasn't a wild pig. And the way it acted, it definitely wasn't a wild pig. And while this is happening, some tubby shit from across the road comes bebopping up the driveway like he owns it. Some things you don't do out here, and that's one of them. Somebody called him back across the road, of course, because it was stupid. And as he's going back, he's heard the remark, "I'm going to come back and get that pig." Now, I find this out when I get home, some hours later. Now, I have two pig problems. One of them isn't really a problem, it's more of a curiosity. The other one is the kind of pig that's dumb enough to show up on a piece of property in the middle of the night with a firearm. So I go into anti-poacher mode. I get my pocket full of fireworks. I get a rifle because it is the middle of the night in the middle of the woods, and that might not be the only problem I run into. Bears are ambush predators, and so are mountain lions, and they're both all over the place out here. And if you've got enough coyotes and one person, you don't know. You never really know. Although those sons of bitches are ghosts. You hardly ever see them. Well, I'm standing over there for a while. And of course, my first job was to go and scan the tree line with a flashlight. And as I'm doing so, I light up. And I could see them. But they weren't real bright. They were kind of dull. And then my light hits them and they're getting really bright. Over in that tree line, about yay far apart, were two, the size of my fists, reflectors. Like you see at the end of people's driveways, this lollipop kind. I'm like, damn, those are bright. I need to get me some of those. I keep playing my flashlight across. I'm looking for the pig and I don't see him. The wind's blowing down the road. I start walking back over to this spot just behind me. And this wave of piss hits my nose. It was And about the time I'm putting it together that someone, fat boy, has come back and busted a scent vial in the church parking lot to lure the pig over. Here he comes. And he was on it. He smelled him a lady pig, and he was on a mission. He comes trotting by me, head up, tail up, looking all proud. And I kick gravel, and he stops and looks at me, all surprised. I said, Get. It's not safe. Go. I stepped towards him, and he run off a little bit, and he looked at me. It's not safe. Get back in the woods. And he hangs his head, and he trots off, and he looks back. I just looked at him and pointed. And he swung his head around and back off into the woods he went. Well, I knew what sort of motivation he was under, and I fully expected to either hear him come around this side or just come right back through. So I ducked back in here and I'm waiting. And I'm not 100% sure Fat Boy isn't over there in that parking lot somewhere. Now, while I'm sitting there waiting, I keep playing the flashlight across to see if I can catch him. I notice that none of the stray cats my neighbors feed are outside. None of them. In fact, none of the possums, skunks, raccoons are out there either. They all come up to clear out the bowl that the cats and the pigs didn't eat. The pig didn't eat. Like that's kind of strange. And I play my light over towards that old house, and up under it, I see eyes. A bunch of teeny little eyes. And I look, and there's a possum and a raccoon and a skunk and a cat and a possum and a raccoon and a skunk and a cat, and they're all sitting there. And none of them are looking at me. Now, I'm a human being with a flashlight and a gun. That would at least get some kind of attention. No, they're all staring into the woods, and that's when I got an uneasy feeling. Oh, because I know they're not scared of the pig. The furthest they'd get away from the food bowl when the pig would come up is maybe 10 feet. You just sit there and look at him. Damn it. Anyhow. So I'm looking. Bring it back across. I don't see anything. Of course, the wind's coming from behind me, so I can't smell anything. And, the wind's blowing that way, so nothing else can. So, none of the sounds changed. It's normal, middle of the night, middle of the woods. Alright, Ant. I see you on there. I'm looking, and I'm, of course I have my glasses on, but I'm staring, trying to figure out what they're all looking at. About the 10th time I go from the reflectors back to the house, one of the raccoons sees me and looks back at the woods. Now, I noticed the movement, and I kind of homed in on him, and that raccoon goes, leans into it. And so I start playing my flashlight back across through there. The little trash panda did me a solid. The only thing I see that looks out of place are those damned reflectors, and then I notice how high they are off the ground. They're about yay far up, about 4.5 feet off the ground. I've never seen any that were more than, that would come up any higher than my hips when they were in place. I noticed how big they were and about how far apart they were. Like, that's weird. I stick that thumb up. My thumb's an inch across, held out at arm's length, and I can see both of those reflectors clearly on either side of it. And as soon as my thumb settles between them, they fucking blinked. It's an oh shit moment. Because you might not be able to see the thing, but you know two things. You know it's alive and it's big. Very big. I see bears all the time. A bear twice my size, I've run a dozen of those off in my life. Every now and again you get one that'll look at you like you're stupid, and he's curious why you're in his yard. But for the most part, it's oogie boogie boogie, and off they go. They don't want any part of people. They know we're dangerous. They're not that stupid. This thing didn't look very concerned. Again, all I can see is these eyes. Now I know they're eyes. I'm fully aware. And it didn't dawn on me until the rifle was cradled across this arm and the safety was coming off that I had even moved it. It was an instinct. I was like, nope. And this son of a bitch is looking at me. And of course I default to what I did with the pig. I start talking at it, but my tone's different. Clearly I wasn't going to tell this thing where to go or what to do. That was not going to happen. Whatever it was could have crossed that distance in almost no time flat. I mean, I just felt it. I knew. If we tangled, neither of us was going to see sunrise the next morning. Chances are it was going to outlive me. All right? I have an AK-47 in my arms, 30 rounds in the magazine, and a spare in my pocket. I didn't think I was going to get to use that spare. It was that serious. This was a big, big animal. Now, the way I rationalized it after all of this was that perhaps I had run into like some sort of Cherokee, like the king of the raccoons, or a Cherokee forest spirit, and namaste unicorns and rainbows, it saw me give respect and pass up a meal that I didn't need to take, and it decided to leave me alone. In the subsequent years, and especially in the last year, after I broke my leg, I got into reading into folklore because I had nothing else to do. I've come to realize that maybe that's not what I saw, and some of you folks that are from, say, Louisiana or Michigan might have a better idea of what I'm talking about. I'm not going to actually say it because it sounds crazy to me. But yeah, that's what I think I saw. I'm fairly convinced that's what I saw. I never want to see another one. But I'm sitting there looking at it, and I start talking at it. I say, hello, how are you? I hope you're having a fine evening, sir or ma'am. And as I'm talking at it, I guess I confused it, because I see, like when you're talking at a dog, and then, I keep talking. I'm having a fine time. I hope you are too. And I talked at it for probably another 2 or 3 minutes and stopped. And I sat there. We sat there staring at each other for about 20 minutes. It'd blink every now and again. Its head would move. Flashlight wouldn't show me what it was. After a while, ducked its head, turned its whole body in order to move. like a dog. Like a really, really fucking big dog. We don't have wolves. We damn sure don't have wolves that size. Hell, we don't have bears that size. Alright? Now, I will say that in the years since, not one pet has been taken out of these yards by a coyote. They stay the hell away from these yards. They don't come close to the backsides of the houses at all. When they're yipping and yapping, it stays in the creek bottom, and they usually stop between the houses with the noise and go on about their business. They don't come up here and fuck around. And I don't think it's because of me. In fact, I know it's not because of me. The one time I've actually seen coyotes out here, they were 60 yards behind my house through a gap in the trees. One of them looked at me and kept going. There was a train of about 10 of them. They're ghosts. You know, you're not going to see them unless they want you to. Now, like I said, in the last year or so, my education in folklore has drastically improved. Growing up out here in the woods, you're told stories about boogers. Nobody ever tells you what a booger is supposed to be. They just tell you, oh, be careful in them woods, and buggers will get you. Of course, when you're a kid, it's like, fuck them boogers, I got a stick, let's do this. And you go off and play in the woods. But in the last year, I've been able to think back over different occurrences that have happened. Now, I had a dog, very, very smart dog. If he wanted to take a nap, he'd knock my door in, walk into my bedroom, lay at the foot of my bed, and then do this until I turned off the light, and then he'd stretch out. That dog hated gunfire. But there were times when he wouldn't go into the woods unless I had a rifle. And there were times where he would bark to be let out because he thought something was outside, and he'd just sit there and look at me like I was stupid. I would have to go get a rifle out of my room, come, and then we'd both go out together. He'd go do his business, sniff around, growl a little bit, and then we'd go back in the house. This dog barked bears that were my size or bigger off of porches. He wasn't, he didn't have a problem with those. Whatever he was sensing, he didn't care for it. He was scared of it. He was definitely more scared than he was of that gun. And while I'm still chalking it up to a big cat because the behavior exhibited by the predator in question was cat-like. I mean, you take a house cat and anything that you can put on them personality-wise, you just scale it up for a bigger cat. Alright? They're all murderers. They'll torture the shit out of something before they kill it. They'll torture something just to do it. If you're not familiar with the breed Catahoula, they're a herding breed from down around Louisiana and Texas. Magnificent dogs. They're fucking huge. And they know it. So if you've got small children, a Catahoula won't play with them. Or it will, but it won't jump up. It knows it could hurt them. It knows its job is to not hurt things, unless those things need hurting, like predators coming into your cattle pen or your sheep or what have you. This dog, size-wise, was a fucking monster. She was big. And my kid's great-grandmother, that's where she stayed. We let her stay over there because, she needed something around that house to protect her. Her porch has that much space between it and the ground at the most open point. They came home from church one Sunday, and that dog was all the way up under that porch. Alright, these dogs aren't scared of shit. Something ran that dog up under that porch, and then killed the chickens she had been feeding that had wandered up. It sat there and killed it in front of her porch steps. That's an animal making a point. I've seen cats do that. I've seen house cats do shit like that to make a point to somebody or something. So I'm going with it was a mountain lion, and I went down behind her house with a box of bird shot. I got loud. I threw that stuff across the creek bed, just round after round of bird shot. If I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have fucking gone back there. It's too thick, too dense, and you couldn't pay me to go back there right now. Not with anything I own. That same shotgun, which is a Kel-Tec, the KSG, which will hold 15, if you're using mini shells, 20 slugs. I wouldn't fucking go back there with it. Not without 5 other people. Not anymore. Back here, it's nice, it's open, I can see, and I know to look in 3 dimensions for animals. Particularly big cats. Cats, at least in North America, have been known to hunt. They're arboreal. They'll stay up in a tree and wait for something that's stupid enough to walk under them. Back to what I was saying about what I think it is. My theory regarding those creatures is what you're dealing with is the descendants of an offshoot of the dire wolf. One that, back to Penny, the big Catahoula. You ever watched a dog see a cat jump? It's like they're seeing a magic trick. It amazes them to see a cat leap 15 feet up onto a house or up onto the top of your cabinets. She would sit there in awe when a cat would do it. Now suppose you're an animal whose chief competition for food and territory isn't others of your kind. Your chief competition is the short-faced bear, which is like a furry Volkswagen with teeth, and the Smilodon, saber-toothed cat. Any advantage you can see and take, you're going to. Now, if you're thinking dogs can't climb trees, you're wrong. I have seen dogs that are trained to climb trees. If you can teach them to do it, they can figure it out on their own too, especially if they're very large dogs, like this picnic table with legs. Just something to think about. And this is the most paranormal experience that I've ever had that I'm willing to talk about, because it was not a creature that I'm familiar with. And I am very familiar with the animals of this area. I'm the kind of person that sees a rattlesnake, you'll go get a stick and fling it off back in the woods. Unless it's getting a little testy, in which case, pop. But look, it's like I said, either I was right the first time and some sort of magical forest spirit is what I saw. I'm right now, and I really hope I'm wrong, because I've heard a lot of those legends, and I don't want no part of that shit. None at all. Or somebody's pet polar bear is running around, and I didn't see any white fur. That would have been picked up. That would have reflected the flashlight. And it was a bright flashlight. I don't know. I can't tell you what it was. I can only guess. But fist-size amber eyes about yay far apart That doesn't match shit that I know of. Maybe you know something else. I don't know. I'm just putting this out there. This is my story. This is what I saw. This is what happened. If you have any thoughts, leave them in the comments. And we'll talk about it there. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hope to see you in the next video.